Today's a special day, as I'm sure most people are aware. It's YouTube's 16th birthday. Small clap for YouTube. That's the only thing that's going on today. Nothing else. How's it going, guys?
Jared, happy Valentine's Day. Peter, happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday, Jack.
Yeah, happy Sunday to both of you. Thanks, Jack.
You're not allowed to say that stuff. This is hard.
We have the majority here.
Yeah.
I was tempted when you guys said yesterday, you're like, yeah, we're going to, or you're talking about gaming, and I was, I was gonna be sorry, guys, I'm busy. It's Valentine's Day weekend, and I was like, no, Jared, don't be like that.
Valentine's Day weekend. Yet one day, that's good enough.
No, because it's our anniversary this weekend as well. So
see, that's valid. That's valid completely. But a whole weekend for Valentine's Day. Okay, let's not get too excited here.
It's a lot.
Well, sorry, go for it, Jack.
Well, Peter did promise our viewers a little something extra on the side, which is a little bit odd to put in the intro. What are you throwing the viewers extra on the side here?
No, see, anything extra is the pieces of gaming news that they may not be able to use. It's more of a legal covering our assets thing. Yeah.
Well,
gotcha.
Although, Peter, you said that Valentine's Day is stuck to one day. What isn't stuck to one day is game release dates.
Thank God. Every day, baby. What a time to be a gamer.
This week, coming out, we have Hashtag Drive on the Switch on February 16th. We have Azur Lane Crosswave, which is on the Switch on the 16th as well. We have Prehistoric Man, which I actually played on Game Boy, which is crazy. I can't believe it's...
oh, really?
I don't even know why. That wouldn't have been the first game at all that I would have thought they would have been bringing to the Switch as like an upgrade version. But that's coming out on the 17th. Fire and Ice is coming out on the 17th, again for the Switch. Doomsday Warrior from Super Nintendo is ported to the Switch on February 17th. Psycho Dream, again, Switch. Big week for the Switch. Like, this is just the Switch week. February 17th. My Universe Pet Clinic Cats and Dogs is releasing on the Switch on February 18th. And then the only game that's not coming out on the Switch is Tiny Shot, which is coming to PC, which is a platformer shooter on February 19th. And then the last game this week coming out is on February 19th with Thomas Was Alone, which is coming to the Switch. And it's a platformer.
Nice. Thomas is Alone. It's a good game. Good indie game.
No. I feel like you were right, Peter. Like before the podcast started, you said that Switch is like indie realm, indie central, and I feel like you're 100% right. I feel like all the games that now that were like are a lot of the games that are going to be on PC, like Steam and stuff like that, are now being ported to the Switch as just like a easy port, I'd say.
And it's like, that's not what I would have imagined for the Switch. I'm not complaining at all. So many great indie games have started on the Switch, then gone on other platforms, but why the Switch? I don't know. Thank you, Nintendo, I guess.
You gotta imagine Nintendo makes the licensing really easy for these indie developers or something. Like
something like that.
Or maybe maybe the coding is easier to port things to the Switch for some reason than it is to port them to a larger console. I don't know. That is outside my realm of expertise.
It could be too that they lend more of a hand to the people. Like they actually help them port it on. Whereas I feel like a lot of the time they're kind of just like, here, if you can figure out how to port it onto our platform, you can have it on our platform.
Maybe it's like the Nintendo eShop takes less of a cut away from the developers. Because I mean, it probably costs Nintendo like almost nothing to maintain the eShop.
Well, when you're releasing a new game every year at full price and you never drop the price of that game, I don't think you're really suffering for money when it comes to...
Yeah, Nintendo could give away Breath of the Wild for $0 every single day until the end of time and not lose any money. No. Jared,
not a single...
They got cash.
I mean, there's a reason they're online so cheap. $25 Canadian for the year. What?
I feel like a mobile platform like the Switch is perfect for indie games. I just think like indie games are a good one where you can like sit down and leave occasionally instead of bigger games where it's like you sit down for you can't sit down for you have to dedicate like at least an hour to the game, otherwise you might as well have not picked up the game.
like I think of the Switch being great for games like Shovel Knight. Maybe that's just like me coming from you playing lots of old games on the Game Boy and stuff, but that just feels so right.
Well, we talked about it the other day. I think I mentioned it to Eric. I don't know why they don't, because Nintendo could literally re-release, for example, use Pokemon because it's one of their larger platforms. You could literally release every single Pokemon generation game in its regular form, like its original form, on the Switch and charge like, I don't know, $15 for each one, maybe even higher than that. And you could easily make your money's worth again, because people love the original Pokemons. Like there's such a dedicated following to Gen 1 through 3, it's ridiculous. And then you have you have games like Heart Gold, which I would love to see come to the Switch, because I loved Heart Gold. And I just don't want to fire up my DS to play it. I'm like, it's another console I don't want to have active moving around my house.
I think there's some rumors floating around that like Diamond and Pearl are getting remakes or something like that. It was Diamond and Pearl or either.
It was Diamond and Pearl.
I don't remember.
It was Diamond and Pearl that are rumored to be getting the remakes. It came from based on what I was reading. It came from someone who's involved in a lot of Nintendo's development. So I believe from what even Matt was saying, it's most likely true. But no, I'd like that one. Diamond and Pearl were solid games. I was pretty happy with those ones.
Well, as the industry has shown, if you remake a game and do it pretty well, and Pokemon's already done this a number of times, people will fucking buy it.
Well, like I said, Heart Gold was a remake of Gold, and Heart Gold to me is still one of the most complete Pokemon games ever to be released. Like the fact you could travel to the old region as well, or 2 regions. The base building mechanic was better in that game. It wasn't overwhelming, but it was like fun enough to keep you interested in it. And then
all for it.
Shut up. Shut up. I spent a lot of time building my settlements, Peter.
Yeah, I know you did.
Only after mods were released. I fucking hated building settlements until mods were released. There's nothing worse than power. Power was the worst thing they ever introduced into fucking Fallout until the mod that gave you the one switch that powered the world.
You know, that's a good point, actually, Jared, not regarding Fallout 4. I don't give a shit. I've hated the base building mechanic and let my people sleep on sleeping bags in the fucking dirt. The Nintendo was kind of ahead of the curve with the remakes, because I was thinking 3rd generation, they had Fire Red and Leaf Green, which were effectively just remakes of Red and Blue. Mm. And I don't even think Red and Blue would have been around for 10 years at that point.
No.
Because Leaf Green, Fire Red were third generation. I wanted to say 3rd edition because I'm a Dungeons and Dragons fan, but not 3rd edition.
That's where I first got my start with Pokemon.
Yeah.
I did as well.
I was an Emerald boy.
Fire Red was my first one, and then Emerald is still, I think, my most... I played a lot of Emerald.
A lot of Emerald.
Yeah.
It was a great game.
If that came out on the Switch, that'd probably be the first old Pokemon game I'd get.
I honestly would too. That game was just solid. Mm-hmm. I think it has one of the most iconic legendary Pokemon battles too, and where Quasar fucking shoots down from the sky. That's gotta be, and he's like dictating Kyogre and Groudon. That's gotta be like the most epic version of basically an unveiling of your legendary Pokemon in a Pokemon game.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I would agree.
But I'm happy if they do a remake on the Switch for Pearl and Diamond. I'm happy with that. They had some pretty good introductions to Pokemon in Pearl and Diamond. So,
but do you want the same mechanics as Hello Pikachu and Eevee? Those games.
I didn't mind those games, but I didn't like that you couldn't get rid of you couldn't evolve Eevee or Pikachu. So it was basically you were stuck with them in their form, right? Because like one of the best things about Eevee is that you could evolve it into whatever you wanted in the every type you wanted, and instead they make a game where it's like you can't evolve this Pokemon and it's stuck with these set moves, and its only good move was like Double Edge or something like that, and it was like good move, but you get like 5 uses and then it's dead. So I wouldn't like that. I'd rather just have it like they did Sapphire or whatever, where it's just like an updated graphics, gameplay. Everything's just a little bit crisper looking. Like if they introduced the graphics they used in Sword and Shield and ported that into doing a remake of Diamond and Pearl or even some of the other ones, that'd be awesome because they did a good job graphically with Sword and Shield, I thought.
What about the trees, Jared? People didn't like the trees.
Oh fuck!
In Sword and Shield.
It's a cartoon.
Ocarina of Time trees. I do not want this in my 2020 game or 2019. I don't even remember when it came out.
I feel like at that point you're just getting picky.
I mean, people love Ocarina of Time until it's time to shit on the trees in Pokemon, I guess.
No longer a masterpiece. No longer 10 out of 10.
I don't remember if I told you guys this, but on this one, the Nostalgic Gamer page, they did a best Pokemon of all time. Emerald won it. Emerald won it in the end. It was between Emerald and Heart Gold, which surprised a couple people because Emerald beat out Silver, which is a big conquering for that because Silver is a pretty renowned game for older Pokemon fans. And there was someone that posted something in there. So this poll is literally you react. They compare two games. You react to which one you thought was better. Okay, in your opinion.
Okay, it's like a bracket.
Yeah, exactly. And someone in the comments section was like, "I don't fucking understand why this game made it, or why this game made it. This one was objectively a better game." And and he's like, "These opinions don't make sense." And I was like, "You're a fucking idiot. This whole thing's about opinions. No one gives a goddamn care about what game was objectively better. It's what you had as an experience." No one I was like, don't be a part of this page because it's literally that's all they do is they do subjective polls on like do brackets and they're like, let's make it up to the best game or whatever. Right now it's best Mario game, which there are so many fucking Mario games. Like it is just absurd how many Mario games they have. And but like I just laughed because I was like, literally the point of this poll is, in your opinion, what is the best game? So if you didn't either play that game or didn't like it as much as another game, you're obviously not going to vote for it. I was just laughing so hard because I was like,
it's not even about them, Jared.
It's not even a secret that Emerald's one of the more complete Pokemon games that's been made. Like that's just that's most. There's quite a few people that have that opinion of the game.
It's amazing what happens when you actually give the player post-game content.
Yeah. Battle Frontier, fucking epic. It was like some of the best Pokemon experience ever.
Sure was. Yeah. But
talking about that, Peter, you had mentioned that Microsoft and ZeniMax are doing something different.
Yeah, they kind of, maybe I was about to say upset the internet. They upset me. I don't know if the internet's upset.
That doesn't take very much. Peter, you're like the guy from the Nostalgic page. Why do these opinions not line up with my opinion?
I'd like to hope that Peter understands how a bracket system works.
I can confidently say I do. Small things in life. But yes, as most of the gaming world knows by now, Microsoft acquired ZeniMax sometime last year for that record $6.4 billion, I believe it was. But anyway, so then in the time since, Microsoft's announced that they're making a new subsidiary called Vault, which are going to group all of ZeniMax into, for whatever reason. Sure, go for it, Microsoft, whatever. But then they later came out and said that actually they created Vault just to shut it down as soon as the acquisition goes through. So it ended up being that it's just some legal thing they needed to do in order to get ZeniMax under them. And so the internet all reported on this Vault, but then Microsoft was like, no, this doesn't fucking matter. Don't worry about this. It makes no sense in my mind, but whatever. But another thing Microsoft has been saying is that they want to do more studio acquisitions. Maybe not on the same level as the ZeniMax one, but still major big money acquisitions. If you guys had to pick a studio for Microsoft to acquire, which one would it be?
Are you asking because there's a real answer?
No, there's no real answer. I'm just curious to see what you guys would like to see. I have 3 studios or companies I would like. One of these 3 would be a victory in my mind.
Am I allowed to say I don't really want Microsoft buying up more studios because that kind of drives competition out of the marketplace?
But don't you think Microsoft is kind of behind on that front with exclusives and all that? Or do you see that as just not a big deal? Well, because actually, I know you're considering getting a PS5 in the future, potentially, just because of the exclusives they have.
Mm-hmm.
So how does that factor?
I guess it depends. The only thing I really care about the ZeniMax, like Bethesda acquisition, is like, oh shit, that might mean the next Elder Scrolls game is exclusive on Xbox for a while. Because I'm going to be honest, I don't really give a fuck about Fallout anymore. Mm-hmm. That ship has sailed. Yeah, I don't know. Big acquisition. I can only think of the really big studios and like really small ones.
See,
so
I would love to see them maybe acquire someone because I feel like under EA they're getting, it may not be any different under Microsoft because they're both large companies, but I think the creative I feel like companies under Microsoft have a Microsoft wants good quality games, right? Like they're really pushing for that's one of the reasons, like you said, they're acquiring companies, because PS5 has all these companies that are doing extremely phenomenal exclusives for them, right? Like crazy exclusives for them, and Microsoft is definitely behind, and that was a big driving force. Like regardless of whether there's a console war, I'd say based on if you ask the general polling for console wise, I bet you PS5 would outright have a larger demand than Microsoft. Like I feel like it's just been that way since PS4 onward, right? So I think as much as it's kind of shitty, because what's happening is now you're getting PlayStation and Microsoft are literally saying who has the most companies under us, and that's all they're caring about right now. But I think if you had companies under Microsoft or PlayStation, what you see is that they want good quality games. So I feel like they'll give more time for game production under them, and you'll have more resources. So I'd love to see a company like BioWare get acquired by them, just because I feel like under EA, any company seems to just get fucking stomped with like
they have a long history.
Just get your game out. Yeah. Fuck you guys. Fuck your creative outlook. Just get your game out.
Yeah.
Here's your deadline. Fucking get it done.
Now, so I feel like that'd be something that I'd hope with a company acquiring game companies to make high quality games. I'd be hoping they'd give them the chance to actually like do that exact thing, right? So it'd be nice to see companies like BioWare who have had a rough go in the last little bit here with games be able to have that opportunity to have those kinds of resources like they do at EA, but have it under a more of a self-directed I don't know, it's just more self-directed in the way they want to go, right?
Now I had to do a little bit of Googling for this because I thought that 2K Games was owned by EA. Technically, it's part of Take-Two Interactive. So if Microsoft were to somehow get their hands on Take-Two Interactive, which would be a lot of money, because I don't know if they're like ZeniMax level of income, but they're pretty fucking
They're still
close.
Big, yeah.
Yeah.
Still billions of dollars.
Still many billions of dollars. Because they own BioShock, Borderlands, Civilization, Grand Theft Auto. Well, they own Rockstar. So they own Rockstar and 2K and a lot of those ones. So it would be, I don't know if Microsoft could do that, but it would be interesting to see what they would do with some of that stuff, because
that would be nuts.
That would be insane. But it's never going to happen.
I think that would be a victory.
That would be an incredible victory for Microsoft.
If Microsoft bought Take-Two Interactive, they would. I think they won.
Yeah, they probably would.
Because like with that, then they would have all those companies. Plus, you have ZeniMax, Bethesda, which have extremely large games under them, and then you have fucking all the other. Like it's just that'd be crazy.
But
so acquiring studios is like taking steroids.
Yeah, pretty much.
in my mind, I'm like, well, 2K hasn't done anything with that BioShock they announced many years ago.
Yeah.
But Ken Levine, who was the runner for BioShock 1 and Infinite, founded a new studio called Ghost Story Games, which is also owned by Take-Two, and he and his team haven't done jack shit since he announced it 5 years ago. And I wanted to see what he's up to. So I'm like, hey, maybe Rockstar would give them the little nudge they need to actually fucking do something.
I'd love to see them if they do another BioShock. I'd love to see them. I liked the game quality in Infinite. I really enjoyed the game. I'd like to see them go more to the horror aspect like they did in BioShock 1.
That'd be interesting. Oh, you know what else I would like? It's never going to happen because these people got bought up by Steam about a year or two ago. But Campo Santo, the people who did Firewatch, I would have loved to actually see them fucking do something as well, because they announced that other game
Egypt
in the Valley,
game.
In the Valley of the Gods, I think is what it was called. And Steam was like, no, you're not working on this now. We need help finishing Half-Life Alyx.
Oh shit! Is that what happened?
So there's no sign on what's happening with In the Valley of the Gods.
Oh, that's tragic.
I know it because I was like, shit, you can make a game that looks awesome and is like maybe going to be better than Firewatch. That would be great. But
big sad.
No, big sad.
Yeah, acquired by Valve. For studios, I think Microsoft would take. My number one is Sega, actually.
Shit.
I think that Microsoft has always had difficulty competing. They don't have any Japanese companies with them. There's that whole side of the market I feel like they've just kind of been shut off to in general. And as of recent, we've seen Microsoft and Sega on very good terms with like all the Yakuza games and stuff coming immediately to Game Pass and stuff. The companies are definitely at least talking and on very friendly terms. So it's combined with that, and I could see that opening up a different... like I was saying, another area of games that Microsoft hasn't really dealt in. And I think that would be a big acquisition as well. There's a lot of big IPs that Sega has.
I was going to say, there's some fucking major titles that have been produced by Sega. Not to mention,
realize Yakuza was Sega.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention, like, Sega's one of the OGs. They're the only thing more OG than Sega would be for them to acquire Atari.
And like I think it speaks volumes to like anything's possible with Microsoft, just because like in the last month or two or whatever there was those news reports of when Microsoft tried to buy Nintendo, for example. Even though they got laughed out of the meeting, they're still willing to try and put up that big money.
I will say, like, it doesn't get rid of competition. As long as you don't have one overseeing body, you'll always have that competition. The one thing that'll be nice, which is a possibility, which you can kind of hope for indie companies, is it really opens the doors to getting their games seen. Because when something's underneath a company like that, it's under one big title, right? So you won't have as much individual, like, this company's talking about this company's talking about this. It'll open up that kind of little bit of a window for a lot more indie developers to come up from the bottom and be like, hey, we're also here, and they can do some shows. So you'll have, like, let's take E3 for example, because E3 is happening online this year. They announced it that they're doing their whole show online. So at E3, you have a bunch of companies, they'll do a showcase for someone, or you'll have like the big Microsoft showcase, and occasionally you'll have some smaller companies that kind of jump on board with that. But with these companies acquiring a lot of, like with Microsoft acquiring big names like Bethesda and ZeniMax, and then you have Sony that acquires their companies, you open up those extra time slots for them to be like, oh, maybe E3 decides we want to do like an indie developer series showcase or something where they bring a bunch of indie developers in. I don't know. It allows for the independent world indie developer world to kind of get a little more of a foot out in the public, rather than just having to rely on another company like Steam or Microsoft to kind of pull them to that light.
Devolver Digital kind of does that, but they're still on a much smaller scale compared to Microsoft or Sony.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. I'm okay with acquisitions as long as the quality doesn't decrease just because they have the company. You know, like I mean, in all fairness, like this is just exclusively related to Bethesda, anyways. They were going downhill with their direction instead of uphill. So that's a slightly different situation where I was very happy that Microsoft acquired them, because I feel like they needed a bigger kind of push from a company rather than where they were going.
Yeah. And like I have two comments like regarding what you're saying about exclusivity. One is that when the Bethesda acquisition first happened, Pete Hines came out and said that, you know, these games are still made by us, published by us, designed by, it's still us making it, just under Microsoft now. So they do still have a lot of that creative control, which I totally appreciate. That's a lot of what makes the vision of a game a great thing. And then also with competition, one reason why Microsoft is a good company to do this is because they release their exclusives on PC day one. Like, say what you will, at least there's that. If they're maybe locking them out of the PlayStation environment for a year or 2 years, but it's better than PlayStation where most of their exclusives don't even come to PC.
Well, I was gonna say PC is a bigger IP anyways in general than. Like you have way more PC players in the world
users,
than you do console users, right? So they honestly don't lose. They don't really lose anyways, because if you have exclusivity is going to become, besides like some of them like Spider-Man or Last of Us, I feel like in the future you're going to see exactly that. It's going to be exclusive for about a year or two for that specific console, and then it's going to get ported over, because that's just like, that's how the game companies are going to make money. Like Microsoft, they make money off their console sales, but with now all the games under them, what the fuck do they care if it's just on their console, right? Like they make money regardless. They make more money by having it on both consoles than they do having it on just their console. So it's definitely something. I think it's good right now with the way gaming was, with game developers, the larger game developers were going. I think it's a good thing to see bigger companies kind of stepping in and being like, hey, we're gonna acquire you, so that we need you to step your shit up, because this is like, we're gonna help you kind of get that direction, give you the resources to, you know, take your game from what you had here to bring it up here, right? So I'm really hoping.
A small loan of $1 million from Papa Microsoft.
Exactly. Yeah. And yet, like you said, still allow them to. It's their creativity. It's their vision. Unlike EA, who has the reputation of, what the fuck are you guys doing? We gave you 2 months to make this AAA title.
And that's an extra month that we wanted to give you guys. Come on.
It's only because the new intern voiced their concerns that we gave you that extra month. But here, come use our campus. Come here, you can use our nap rooms on our campus at EA.
Yeah. You can go down the slides and stuff we have.
Oh, man.
Incredible. Maybe Microsoft should acquire Behavior so they can fucking fix the issues with Dead by Daylight.
Actually, one of another company I kind of wanted was THC Nordic, who, as of recently, has the same mindset as Microsoft, where they've been acquiring a lot. I think they're like more of a publisher than a developer, but they have like tons of games, including Dead by Daylight, Grid, Wasteland, Destroy All Humans, Metro. They have a lot of like kind of smaller IPs, but still known IPs. So I think that would go perfectly with what Microsoft's trying to do.
I will say, Grid is, I think it's arguably one of my favorite racing games I've ever played.
Ooh.
Like I'm not a big I play racing games because the cars look very pretty in a lot of racing games, and you know, it's just whatever. You get to drive around cars I'll probably never drive around in my life ever. Grid did like an exceptional job with the way the car looked, how you progressed in the game. It wasn't open world like Forza. Forza was really good for that. I like that whole option of just driving around the big open world. But for the story wise, like, you'd think a racing game wouldn't have much of a story, but Grid 2 actually does a decent job about how to progress you through a story. So I'd be pretty happy with that for Grid to start making games again, because Grid 2 is like the last big one that I played from them, and I'd like to see them produce another one. But
okay,
that would be a great acquisition. But yeah, I agree. See, it's like that where, like you said, Jack, it'd be for Dead by Daylight to help companies like that who are obviously struggling right now with like bigger things. Like, they're trying to do big jumps, but it was just handled almost in an inexperienced way, you know?
I was about to say, how does that happen? Like, you think these things are play tested beforehand? Like,
typically, whenever Dead by Daylight releases something, it's on their playtest servers on PC for about a month before it goes live. But people who have used the playtesting servers have often said that their feedback kind of goes unnoticed.
Oh, boo.
Well, it's kind of
like the Twins were on playtest for like a full month, and people were like, "Yeah, this killer is like not that good." So,
yeah, I mean,
sure, we've gotten screwed over by the Twins a few times, but you know, in the first week, we saw people playing as the Twins and haven't seen anyone since.
Yeah, that's how she goes.
Yeah, it'd just be because if you have it under a larger company, you'd have those. They'd have it go through their testers as well, right? It wouldn't just go.
Do you think it would really change them? I don't know. I have no idea.
I think
I'm not sure.
They could use the experience though, because Microsoft would definitely have more experience than the developers of Dead by Daylight on large update releases and stuff like that, and maybe how to go about it a bit better.
To me, it's frustrating. It's frustrating that the game has been out for 4.5 years, and they're having issues that they've been having since day one with hitboxes and stuff like that. It's like every time you fix it, how does it go so horribly wrong after an update like this? Like, why have hitboxes even been affected? I guess you could make the argument for like animation changes with characters and stuff like that, but even that doesn't really make sense to me.
No, the only thing I can think of is that when they did the because when you do a UI upgrade, it can affect how you perceive where someone is. I know they had that. I was watching BioWare was talking about it because the Star Wars: The Old Republic had a bit of an issue with that, with certain like detection boxes, not so much hit boxes. When they did because when the game originally came out, I'd say about maybe 2 years ago, I think it was, they did like a big graphical update for the game for a full overhaul of it because they wanted to keep the game going as far as it has. And I know when they did that graphical overhaul, they had really bad detection box issues where it's like before you could pretty much weave your way through like say a field of enemies that were there and not get detected, but their detection boxes were all fucking wonky. They were no longer like that. Usually it's a circle for them where it's like if you're in that circle you get detected, if you're not you're fine. So I think if you have, I'm assuming, again, I've never developed a game before, but I'm assuming when you do a UI overhaul, you also have like how you perceive someone's positioning. So it's from the killer's perspective, because when I've been playing as killer recently, I haven't noticed any of these issues. Like when I was hitting people, I never noticed that they weren't in front of me or they were anywhere else, right? I would just kind of look at it as like I was hitting them and it was fine. So it could just be how the receiving end of the video is being portrayed for hitboxes.
Wow, having a really good night as killer. I wonder why.
Yeah, I know. It was really weird.
I was thinking about it. Now's a good time to go and play some killer.
Yeah, you're fucking on top of the world. But no, it is unfortunate to see, and I mean, I agree with you, Peter. Like they're so focused on the UI. I didn't find the UI that bad. Fix the hitboxes. I can play with the UI. There's been some not great UIs that have been in the past of Dead by Daylight. I can deal with that. I mean, there's some people that are really bitching about it. I didn't think it was that bad. I thought the new UI was fine. Bitch. But the hitboxes were that was horrible. Like it was not fun to the point. Like it was so bad that it was no longer fun. Like it's one thing to have the odd glitch here and there. It's shitty, but that was just. In
a game like Dead by Daylight, you can't be fucking around with like how easy it is to get hit. You know, like.
No, as soon as that's the issue, you broke the game. The killer wins, or vice versa. If you make it so the killer can't hit shit, then you've just broken it for anyone who plays the killer.
Oh, but Jared, you know what the real issue is? We need to nerf Decisive Strike again. We need to make the game more fair for killers who are getting hit by a Decisive Strike. I
didn't even think it. Like I was telling you this, Jack. I played killer. I didn't even think Decisive Strike was overpowered. It was good timing, and the fucking thing is like the small skill check. So it's not even like if you have someone who's not good at skill checks, Decisive Strike is useless for you. You're fucking might as well not use it.
Is that the perk that like they ruined? Because I saw like online that they're like fucking wreck some perks or something like that with the update as well.
Decisive Strike has been a bit of a controversial one ever since it came out. When it came out, like in the first year or so of Dead by Daylight, because it came out with Mike Myers and Laurie Strode. It originally allowed you to stun the killer. I think pretty much every time he picked you up or something like that, and then let you escape. And then it had a pretty long cooldown, which was obviously too overpowered. So it went through some like balance changes over time. The one that we've been playing with now is once you're taken off a hook, it activates for 60 seconds. If you go down and the killer picks you up within that 60 seconds, you can succeed on a skill check, stun them, and escape, which seems fair. Now they want to make it. Yeah, they want to make it so that if you do anything other than like hide in a locker, or like if you do any generator repairs, heal any of your teammates, cleanse any totems, you lose Decisive Strike. So you in those 60 seconds, you can't do anything if you want to keep Decisive Strike, because Decisive Strike is designed as an anti-tunneling tool to prevent you from getting tunneled by the killer. So the idea is, well, if you have time to work on things, you're not getting tunneled, which is not exactly how it works in reality.
I get where they're coming from, but
yeah, and I understand when there's a full lobby of people using Decisive Strike. What a lot of high level players tend to do is like jump in a locker immediately in front of the killer while Decisive Strike is active, so the killer is forced to either go away or get them out of the locker and eat their Decisive Strike, which gives them a chance to get away. So I understand where like killer mains are coming from, but killers have such powerful tools at their disposal, and survivors have one perk, and it needs to be nerfed. How come we're not nerfing Barbecue and Chili? How come we're not nerfing Hex Ruin? How come we're not nerfing Devour Hope? How come we're not nerfing any of the other great killer perks that they have access to?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you talk about that because it's like, well, and then they'll argue because it's a hex totem, you can get rid of it. The only time I think we've successfully gotten rid of every hex totem before the like early in the game was when I was playing killer in the fucking in our private match, and we were inside the lab, and I was playing as the Blight, and you guys fucking found every single hex totem within the first like 2 minutes of playing the game, and my whole killer was literally my whole killer was literally fucked, and I was like, well, this is fun.
That's a good point, actually. A common killer tactic is to use a bunch of different hex totems. So you've got Ruin, you've got Devour Hope, you might have Undying, you might have Haunted Ground. Mm-hmm. So if you cleanse a totem, like you're putting yourself at risk. Because Undying lets the killer know where you are, and Haunted Ground lets them kill you easily because it makes you exposed. So
yeah, it's crazy. I think it was just an unnecessary fix. Like I said, I've been hit by Decisive Strike as a killer a few times, and it is what it is. It's exactly that. It's technically made as an anti-tunneling, but I mean, sometimes, like, as a killer for me, I never really think who I'm chasing. I just chase the person who happens to be most convenient for me to chase at that time being. I don't care if if I haven't looked at you the whole game or if I've looked at you the game. I mean, I try not to be an asshole as much as I can. Like, if I've clearly picked up the same fucking person, I'll try to, like, go after someone else. Because being on the receiving end of that, it's just no fun. Like, regardless of whether I destroy the match as a killer or not, I'd rather enjoy myself a little bit.
That's the other thing about Decisive Strike. You can use it once per match, and then you don't get it anymore.
Oh, so really? I thought it was multiple times. I thought it was anytime you got off the hook.
So it activates anytime you get off the hook, but if you hit left bumper to try and make the skill check, if you succeed the skill check or miss the skill check, you lose the perk for the rest of the match.
So then why are they nerfing it? That doesn't need to be nerfed. It's already it's like Bill's perk for getting up when you're on the ground. You can use it once.
Well, exactly. It's exactly like Unbreakable. So it's like, well, instead of fucking running Decisive Strike, I'll just start running Unbreakable or something like that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, I'll just change my perk loadout and Unbreakable is arguably better, but that hasn't been nerfed.
No.
Like I'll start running Tenacity into Unbreakable, and I'll slither into the grass, and I'll get myself up in the
Honestly,
middle of, in the corner of the map.
I feel like I should have Unbreakable as my perk with Detective Tap. There's been so many instances where like there'll be two of us left, and I'm down. I've crawled away. The killer has no fucking clue where I am, and then I have to crawl and try to find the hatch because I can't get up because the other person got put on a hook or something. So I feel like it is a perk I should play with. I've been waiting for it to come into like the shrine thing so I can just buy it with 2,000 of the purple points because I really don't want to play as him. I just have no interest in. I don't play enough to have another full character up to the point where I can get teachable perks. But
I mean, Bill is a good one to consider playing as because his perks are very good. Borrowed Time is really good. Unbreakable is really good. I don't remember what his third perk is.
Yeah, it's I hope they find that they get the fix out soon so it can go back to being fun. And I don't know how they're gonna nerf Decisive Strike. I don't really know how you nerf something from that. Like make it so you just can't. Like I don't even know. Like
I'll have to play with it and see if it's still like good enough to run. Is the thing.
Yeah.
So sometimes it will be, sometimes it won't be. It's going to be very situational.
Well, I always thought like Detective Tap's one perk, I forget what it is, but basically anytime the killer's around you when you're in their aura, you can basically you have a little clock that goes, and every time it makes a full loop, you get a point, like one token.
Right.
And that token, whether I make a good skill check or a great skill check, it's always a great skill check as long as I have a token. So I can get 4 full tokens, and I can make 4 great skill checks in a row without actually hitting great skill checks. And which nice. And it also at the purple level it allows you to increase every time you get a great skill check. It increases it by 1% faster repair time on each generator, for example. So, which in a game like Dead by Daylight is a pretty decent amount of increase because you're looking at a game where it's like those milliseconds of getting things done can mean the difference in a game, right? So there's perks like that where I think that's almost more overpowered because getting great skill checks does tip it in your favor for a lot of things like generators.
For sure. Yeah.
And like even when you're doing heals, like healing someone, it jumps it by quite a bit when you get a great skill check.
There's only 3 perks. I just feel like you can get more bang for your buck.
From what I can see, some people complain, particularly people who are killer mains, complain that the game is sort of balanced in favor of survivors, but that is really only true if you're facing off against really high-level survivors relative to your skill level. Mm-hmm. I think the game is ultimately in favor of the killer, especially the longer it goes on.
Yeah.
So, because killers have powerful add-ons for their main abilities. They've got the same, offerings that we have, except they can have memento moris. So, the good stuff that survivors have is like you can take a spare part with your toolbox and get like 25% of a generator done in 10 seconds, which helps you rush generators, but then you can't use it again for the rest of the match. It's like, I get it. Overall, I think the game is fairly well balanced, but
and then you ask, like,
things.
What about killers like Freddy, who are clearly overpowered killers when it comes to Dead by Daylight?
Mm. Even a lot of people in the community think he's overpowered.
Like, it's crazy. Like, yeah. I don't quite understand how his ability works, but it seems that when he uses his teleport to generators ability, it teleports to a generator being worked on. It doesn't teleport to a random generator. It teleports specifically to a generator being worked on because it's like clockwork, or the people we faced are just that fucking lucky. I've never looked into the perk, but it seems like anytime they put someone on the hook and they teleport as Freddy to the generator, it's always a generator that's being worked on. It's never a dull generator. But
I don't know.
Yeah, there's other areas they could have nerfed in that game than that. Like fucking.
Is the pig considered OP?
I don't think so.
There's not a lot of people that I find use the pig. Like from my experience, because I used the pig there for a while in our private matches, right? And from my experience, it's like because you're limited, you only have so many cages you can put on someone's head. So if you use them and you're out, you basically lose a good portion of that killer's ability.
Yeah, I mean the stealth killers are always going to be popular, but I think in general people would rather play Ghostface or Mike Myers because I think in general they're just more powerful. Mike Myers is stupid powerful. If you
his
have
fucking lunge
like,
is crazy.
Yeah,
his lunge.
Eric's played him enough times that I've felt his wrath.
There's some good there's good clips of people playing him online where if you have both of his pink add-ons, his highest level evil within never goes away, and he can kill people the same way that as if he had a memento mori, except without having to down them. He can just pick them up and kill them.
Yeah, the spirit has a similar, not quite as powerful. The spirit has one where if you have one of her highest end add-ons, you can kill one person who you've downed or put on the hook once and gone to second stage. Similar to the second level memento mori, the green one that allows you to do that, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
But it only can do it on one person. You can't do it on consecutive people. But yeah, no, Mike. I'd say Mike is the most devastating stealth killer of the game. Like I feel like he's just so like his combination of perks are just so well balanced. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
What's your guys' favorite killer to play against, like as a survivor? Like, what do you? For me, I would probably say it's Ghostface, just because there's been so many great moments of like being right beside him as he's sneaking around, just getting barely not seen. Just like there's some great high tension moments with those stealth killers. For me, that's really what stands out.
Ghostfaces can be fun. If they're really good, they can be annoying.
Yeah, if they play the long game with Ghostface. Like you can't play a short game with Ghostface. It's tough because he relies heavily on like, sitting there and watching for a while before he actually strikes. Similar to Mike, but the thing with Mike is like he exposes everyone when he exposes one person, right? Whereas Ghostface can only expose one at a time. He can't do full exposure. But I'd say favorite killer to face. Honestly, I've had some pretty funny matches against killers like the Trapper and stuff like that. Like he's a tougher killer, but I've had some pretty good moments. And the Hag, I think my most memorable moment was with the Hag. Remember when I think both of you were there, where I got stuck on the fucking pallet when I got hit, and I couldn't get off the pallet, and the killer just left me there, so I was just stuck crawling on the pallet, and eventually they couldn't. Jack came up and tried to heal me. He couldn't heal me on the pallet. And the killer figured that out, and eventually they came and killed me because I think Jack just ran around the pallet, and the killer got pissed off enough that they finally broke the pallet. But it was I think that I've had some pretty good memorable moments of that.
Yeah. I like dodging the hillbilly. If you're up against a really good a rank 1 hillbilly, they can kill you pretty easily. But if you're up against anyone who's not super experienced with the hillbilly, they're a lot easier to dip and dodge with.
Yeah.
So I like looping the hillbilly around quite a bit. Seeing him get pissed off and then run across the map, find someone else.
You know who I've found out is just like recently is an absolute. It's horrible to face them when they're really good with them. Is the nurse like?
Yes.
When you have a good nurse player, that is just horrible. Like the one nurse we faced, Peter. Like usually the nurse can only go once, right? They shoot through and that's once. This person had created the nurse so they could do it twice. So they could miss and then go directly to you on the side that you were on. So it was.
No, thank you.
It was devastating. Like you dodge the first one every time, but the second one was very hard to dodge their dash attack.
Jared, there are some nurse builds that allow her to do that 3 times.
That's fucking stupid. Like and there was no cooldown. It was like boop boop as soon as they fucking went. It was crazy. Yeah, I never thought the nurse. I never thought of the nurse as a horrible killer to face until I faced like some really good nurses.
That's what I was about to say. I've never really, I don't feel like I faced the nurse a lot, and I've never been too intimidated by the nurse.
She's hard to use for new players, so people who know how to use her are only really in the red ranks, and they tend to be very good.
Yeah, I'd like to learn her abilities because she does seem like a fun killer to play. But yeah, no, I mean, you guys all know who my fucking most hated killer is that I ever faced, and Peter loves playing as
the Doctor.
Fucking hate the Doctor. Though I will say I've had some better luck recently with the Doctor, because I find the higher ranked doctors don't use the large area as much. Like they use the more directed
because it's you make people way more crazier faster that way.
Yeah, so I found in the higher levels I don't mind playing against the Doctor. They're better in other ways, right? So it's a bit of an annoyance to face them. But I find with like the beginner doctors, every 5 seconds they use their full area attack, and I'm just like, God damn it! Every time I'm just like, I stop screaming.
And the Doctor is like ranked as hard difficulty, isn't he?
Is he?
I think he is.
I think he is hard as well. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he is. Which is crazy because like maybe other areas they just, because a lot of beginner people will just use the slash attack a lot, right? Like they'll kind of chase. They'll kind of forget about their secondary ability or their main like action abilities, and they'll just go for like hits. I feel like if you use him properly, he's devastating, but if you use him just as like sporadic, like although he made us insane a lot of the time when they just use the area ability, it's usually you can escape. Like I found we've escaped pretty often. When they've targeted someone though, like he's an ass. When he tunnels someone, it's you're having a rough day.
Well, that's the thing. A lot of like shitheads play the Doctor. Like a lot of people who aren't very good at killer and just like camp the hook, face camp.
Peter tunnels me. Every time I play private match with Peter, he tunnels me as a Doctor because he knows how much I fucking hate the Doctor.
Stop giving me the reactions I'm going for,
Jared. Peter, I can't. It just infuriates me when you fucking come around, you like, and I'm like,
whether you want to or not.
Yeah, and then after that, all I see you is everywhere, and it's horrible.
That sounds like a dream to me.
Yeah, does it?
Seeing me everywhere you go.
Who's your most hated killer, Peter? I don't think we've ever asked that. Who's the killer you hate the most when you face them? Same with you, Jack. I'd be curious about
that. Most hated killer. I mean, the Doctor's probably up there. I don't know if he's my most hated.
For me, the Spirit's pretty up there, just because I don't feel in control at all.
I feel like I gave you a lot of bad experiences with the Spirit when I was playing.
Yeah, I've been hurt by the Spirit numerous times.
It's been my main playing as killer online, and like I'm starting to get higher up where I'm facing 10 and above leveled survivors, and it's getting a little bit more even. Up until that point, I was just slaughtering teams, and
you were bullying people.
Yeah, I mean, in all fairness, it's not fair the fact that we played a lot of private matches. So although my killer rank was 20, we have played a ton of killer that we could.
My main account is my Smurf account.
Yeah. Most hated.
Oh, I guess Freddy's up there for me. It's Doctor and Freddy. Those would probably be the two that tail each other for me.
I don't run into Freddy's a whole lot, and when I do, it's rare that they like really, really fuck us over. So I can't really say that he's my least favorite. I don't think. Yeah. I mean, I guess probably the Doctor. I guess. I don't particularly like facing him.
I find the Oni can be a pain in the ass. I find like his charge ability is pretty intense. Like when we faced an Oni the other night, Eric and I and it was a tier 1 Oni, and I found with his abilities, he was able to run so long in that charge state, like that his release state or whatever it is, that you basically, if he spotted you, you had no chance of escaping, like regardless, because he could just fucking blow through pallets and he could just run after you and get you, and it'd be done. Like if you could hide from him, fine, but he was very good. He had I don't know how he was finding us, but he was fucking sniffing us out like no one's business. So I found he's tough if they're really good with him. He can be a bit of an annoyance.
Yeah, because like I've played the Oni a bit, and like his buff mode it's certainly powerful, but I've always had a really tough time controlling it. Mm-hmm. I always end up running into I can never really use it as effectively as I'd like.
He is harder. I don't know, because you've played him. I've never played him, Peter. When those orbs come up, it makes finding injured people a lot easier.
Very easy. Yeah. Very easy. Yes, that is true. That is the main reason why I like the Oni.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'd be curious if they say they're coming out. There's they had a question on their Twitter a while back, like I think it was a couple months back, where they were asking like people what killers they'd like to see and stuff like that. And I still think it'd be freaking awesome to see like an alien crossover killer in Dead by Daylight. I think that'd be such a fun stealth killer. It'd probably be a pain in the ass to face, just based on what it is, but I think that'd be awesome. You could have something
map would be cool.
You could have something similar to that's like the pig, where it's like the time clock until you die, except when you could have like the face huggers or whatever that you can release. I don't know, it'd be interesting. It'd be a killer that could be you could create it in so many different ways to make it an effective version of what it is in the movies and stuff like that. So I'd be interested to see it. I think it'd be cool.
How about the alien from the first Aliens movie, where it's very clearly like a man in a suit?
You didn't like the. Yeah. I loved that one camera shot of that movie where he's literally arms straight out and he's like running across.
There's a couple scenes where you can really tell it's like, oh, you got, it's the 70s.
Yeah,
good. It's really well done for its time. I'll give it that. But
yeah. And then you compare it to like the new ones where the cinematics are just so good for that kind of shit. So the alien's like really good.
CGI, baby.
Yep. Yeah, no.
Yeah, how would that work from like a gameplay perspective though? Like what would be the alien's main ability?
I think the main ability it'd be kind of like Ghostface's stock ability. It'd be very similar because that's what it is throughout the movies, right? It's the stealth, the ability to get through areas.
Yeah. The alien is like stealthing through like vents and stuff like that in the movie, though, isn't it? A lot of the time,
you can have vents like Freddy's.
Yeah, I was about to say, could you redesign the maps so like there are certain areas where the alien can like ambush people from?
That's what I was thinking. Like, going on walls and stuff would be really cool for a killer, but like on some like the outdoor maps, that's not doable. Like,
yeah, I think that's a cool idea, Jack. Where it's like you can ambush killers from certain things, maybe even ambushing from I don't know, even like ambushing from utilizing something
under pallets and stuff.
Yeah. The other ability you could use is
the alien can hide in lockers.
And they run out with the arms straight out.
Yeah.
You could probably have it so that they use the acid to some degree as well.
But see, I feel like this is like reusing killer ideas, though. Yeah. Like that's the thing. I don't know how they're gonna keep doing like stealth killers and stuff, because at a certain point, it's different. You gotta make them unique.
Every killer has their unique ability, and then they have just their general slashing ability. I think it comes down to.
What could it be? It'd be something you'd have to really like take apart, like what characteristics of the alien, and then find a way to uniquely incorporate it. But I still think it'd be a fun killer to play, or even play as I don't know, the Predator is a pretty big name in the horror genre, so it'd be cool. I feel like they'd be an easier one to incorporate into. They'd be another like maybe ranged killer where it's like you can use their net attack to fully down someone, but it's a large reset time or something like that.
Yeah, I was thinking like Jodie Foster's character from Silence of the Lambs would be a good survivor, but there's not really any good killers from Silence of the Lambs. Because Hannibal Lecter wouldn't be very scary.
That wouldn't work, yeah.
And Buffalo Bill wouldn't be very scary.
No.
I want the ghost of Christmas Past.
You could have Krampus.
Krampus! That would be excellent. That would be funny.
The Trapper has a Krampus skin, I think.
He does. Yes,
Does he?
He does indeed. I mean, there's a lot of like mythological creatures in like Mesoamerican cultures that you can incorporate into it.
Thor.
I hate when Thor comes and fucking murders me.
I hate when he lightning shocks the whole map.
Oh man. Like, when are we gonna get the Dracula crossover or the Frankenstein?
Frankenstein's monster, yeah.
You do a werewolf even get a character that transforms into something and it's a boost. Like it'd be
Optimus Prime.
Yeah. I hate when he turns into his fucking semi truck and he can come. It was
Actually,
like
that would be interesting if there was like a shape-shifting killer that like takes the form of whatever the one of the humans, one of the survivors in the match is, and then like transforms because like maybe you're working on a generator and you're like, oh, this looks like one of my friends who has cosmetics exactly like this person.
Well, I was gonna say you could change it, maybe have it so that the outfit's the generic default outfit. So it's like the character's the same, because I mean I don't necessarily pay too much attention. Like I'll pay attention in the loading screen.
No, because then you would know. Like after they use that once, then you know.
Okay, so make it, but because then they couldn't work on generators, so they just kind of be sitting there. So you'd have to really pay attention to mechanics of the game or something.
Even if it was just like prop hunt-esque, where they could turn into an object and just sit there, you know,
that'd be freaky.
Turn into a generator. I would just turn into a
beginning of the round of the game, just turn into a generator, plop yourself somewhere and wait.
Yeah, because what I'm thinking is like, I don't know how easy it would be on the developer's part, but just know what the cosmetic, like what each cosmetic the survivors have brought in, and like maybe every time you shapeshift and shift back to a human, you resemble the exact skin that one of the survivors has brought in. So you're not doing the same survivor every time, because then people become suspicious. But you find like one person like working on a generator and you're like, oh, this is one of my friends. And then maybe when you're in your human form, you can work on generators as well.
Yeah.
And then you get up and like ambush somebody.
Well, I don't know if you noticed, Peter, it obviously is doable, because in Control, they when you go into the mirrored world, whatever outfit you're wearing as the main protagonist, the villain's also wearing, right? So it changes depending on your outfit. It's probably just they just program it so that it just detects whatever code is being used, and then it just transforms into that code. I think that'd be an excellent killer. That'd be really cool. That sounds so familiar as like an actual horror.
Randall from Monsters Inc.
I was gonna say you could make that almost the Liquid Terminator if they wanted to use like a big name IP.
Oh yeah,
they could use the Liquid Terminator and use that as his ability, because that was one of the big parts of that movie, was that he was turning into people.
Jared. That's good. You should put that on Reddit or something.
So I mean, I'm surprised they don't have a Terminator crossover to begin with, but I mean, again, it's acquiring those big name killers, right? Like that's got to be expensive to do for them to be able to buy the trademark for it, or lease the trademark. I guess they wouldn't be buying it.
You buy the whole IP just to put it in Dead by Daylight.
Yeah, you just get the license to use that character's likeness.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that there's a lot of cool things they could add to Dead by Daylight, and I hope they start to I like that they're kind of doing one named killer and then one of their own killers. Like they make a killer, and then they do a known killer, and then they do their killer. So I'm very curious to see who the next licensed killer, because that should be, based on the way it's gone late recently, it should be a licensed killer that comes next.
It's actually been a lot of their own killers lately. A lot of the licensed killers came out, I think, in the first 2 or 3 years.
Oh,
that makes sense.
I was just saying because the last since I've played, they came out with Pyramid Head and then the twins and one other that was theirs.
So when we started playing, and Doug Dimmadome had just been released, I think recently.
Okay.
And then they released. There was Pyramid Head.
Oh, the clown got released.
I think the clown's been around longer than Doug, actually.
Because I thought I got it on release when I got it. Because Eric and I were talking about buying it.
Right. The Blight and the Twins came out.
Right, the Blight. I forgot about the Blight.
Yeah, the Blight came out, I think, in September, and the Twins came out, like, December, maybe. And I think based on that, there's probably one or two more of their own killers, because if you look at Felix and Elodie's backstory, they knew each other and were, like, part of a group of friends. So the Blight was released with Felix, and the Twins were released with Elodie, so there's probably a few more that have to be released in that storyline.
Okay.
Do you guys remember when we started playing?
I started playing in June.
But around the 4th anniversary, Peter. I don't know if you remember.
God damn. So yeah, it looks like Jack's right then with kind of the order of killers to come out. We started with the Deathlinger having just came out, then Pyramid Head, then the Blight, then the Twins.
Yeah, that's. I mean, either way, I get excited for new killers. They're always I'm always interested to see what they come up with and the new survivors they come out with and all that. Like Elodie's deception perk there, where she opens the locker but doesn't actually go in, has turned in. I see that a lot now, people using that perk, so it's kind of neat to see.
Now, here's something I was thinking about. We have a Silent Hill crossover. Do you think we could get a Resident Evil crossover?
Oh, totally. You could get like the big fucking tall
Nemesis,
lady,
or you could get X, or big tall lady. That's how you do it. That's how you do it.
And fucking sales of Dead by Daylight, they would fucking explode. Everyone would be playing it. Everyone would be playing Madame fucking Dravescu or whatever her fucking name is.
I just can't believe, like, you look at, I was laughing at looking at this size thing. She makes Mr. X look like a fucking
baby.
Yeah, he's a child. He's a mere child, and yet when you face him in Resident Evil, you're like, holy shit, you are a big man. You are like 7 foot tall.
Mm-hmm.
God, a woman's like almost double my height.
That's Peter. That's your dream. That's your dream girl right there.
Woo! I don't know. It gives me a lot of mixed emotions.
I liked the response they had to like some of their tweets and interviews and stuff, where they're like, we didn't really expect people to receive it in ways such as, I can't wait to, I look forward to being chased by her.
Step on me. That was the response of the internet. Like, we're trying to make a survival horror here, guys. Can you please take it seriously?
And the internet is like, no. Absolutely not.
All right.
Anyway, that's time, boys.
Yeah,
that is time.
That was a good podcast. That was
fun. Yeah,
that was an excellent conversation.
You hanging out with your girlfriend the rest of the day, Jared?
Yeah, we're gonna do a walk over in the park, and then kind of do dinner together before she's seen her family this week, which is good. She hasn't seen them in a while, so
there you go.
Well, I hope you enjoy your day, Jared, and I hope you do as well, Jack.
Hey, thanks, Peter. I'm gonna do my best. I'm gonna do what I can.
Amen to that, brother. Now, if you guys want to see more of Live Connection, you can check us out on our Twitch channel or YouTube channel. Any of the above, you can check that out down below. We're a variety channel, stream 2 times a week, Thursdays and Sundays. You can check us out this Thursday for Call of Cthulhu. Excited for that, as always.
We will be back. More Call of Cthulhu.
More London.
Yes.
London. More action-packed adventures with Richard.
Richard spends another 30 luck.
Yeah. More splitting the party.
Yeah. And yeah, we'll hopefully catch you guys then. Have a good one, guys.
See ya.
Bye.